Chairman Scott, Ranking Member Joe Brand, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify. For over 25 years, I've worked in healthcare technology, logistics, and distribution. At iRemedy Healthcare, we manage an artificial intelligence procurement platform that supports manufacturers worldwide. My experience includes building software, scaling networks, partnering with hospitals, manufacturers, and government agencies, all of which has given me a clear view of how our supply chain actually functions on the ground. That vantage point has revealed two urgent truths. First, that far too much of our production of essential medicines has been ceded to China and India, leaving our nation dangerously exposed to weak oversight, counterfeit risks, and most importantly, price manipulation. And second, that an unintended consequence of that globalization is the concentration of our supply chain into a small group of intermediaries that restricts the flow of drugs into American hospitals, locking providers into contracts, and stifling supply chain and market innovation. Combined, these two truths are deadly. I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and have seen firsthand the prosperity of an active manufacturing economy, as well as the devastation when industries are hollowed out. Today, I'm here to say bluntly, we must end our dependence on foreign adversaries and restore control of our medical supply chain to the United States. During Operation Warp Speed, my company was a key supplier of needles and syringes. We delivered more than 1 billion items for the country's needs. What I witnessed during that period was alarming. At one point, the Chinese Communist Party seized 40% of our China-based inventory awaiting shipment. We routinely dealt with bad actors attempting to bribe dock workers and factory managers peddling fake FDA 510K certifications. As you know, the vast majority of prescription medicines are generic, yet those drugs overwhelmingly come from high-risk overseas suppliers. When supply lines are disrupted, we quickly see shortages of life-sustaining medicines for conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. Oversight is essential for immediate relief. We must enforce unannounced FDA inspections overseas, as we do here in the U.S. We must require clear country of origin labeling and independently validate imported shipments for quality. But these are Band-Aid fixes that do bring transparency and deter quality failures. But they won't fix the problem. The only real cure is to reshore the supply chain. And I'm here to report that we can do so. First, APIs. Nearly all come from overseas, especially China. We must invest in new technologies and fast-track permits for factories. We must treat this as the national security issue it is and prevent bureaucratic delays. Second, generic drug manufacturing. Here's the truth. The technology already exists in this country to make generics profitably without raising costs for consumers. What we lack is fair competition. Generics are often a commodity, and foreign governments have learned how to weaponize commodity pricing against us. Until we level that playing field, American manufacturers will never have a chance to compete. Let me give you a real-world example. Oxford Pharmaceutical is an Alabama-based generic drug manufacturer with the capability to produce life-giving medicines domestically. They are a high-quality, modern, U.S.-owned example of American manufacturing excellence. They make drugs here in America efficiently, safely, and at scale. What stands in their way is a market that has been deliberately tilted against domestic producers. Even when companies like Oxford can produce at competitive costs, they're forced to compete against artificially subsidized Chinese and Indian importers that are all too often unfairly awarded U.S. government contracts. Shockingly, this happened to Oxford just a few months ago. That system has to end. We must protect American producers with targeted licensing and trade enforcement. We must use artificial intelligence to overhaul the drug marketplace and reform federal procurement so that U.S.-made drugs are the default, not the exception. If given fair access, domestic manufacturers can compete and win. If not, we remain captive to adversaries abroad. President Trump has shown leadership with executive orders to prioritize American-made medicines. But we need an all-government response involving regulation, legislation, and procurement. We must act now. First, apply the immediate Band-Aid fixes, unannounced FDA inspections overseas, clear country of origin labeling, and randomized testing on imported drugs. These buy us transparency and time. Then, cure the disease. Reshore API production with new technology. Manufacture generics domestically with fair trade protections free from foreign price manipulation. And use the full weight of government purchasing power to put resilience above cheap imports. Members of the committee, this is not just economics, this is sovereignty. This is national security. It is needed to protect our seniors, our soldiers, and our families when the next crisis strikes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership and to the committee for this opportunity.